answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. Well, we have a lot of ground to cover today. Lots of developments on the media scene, shall we put it that way, and lots of stuff to deal with, but also I am investigating something. So I'm hoping my bongo drums will swing into action so I can have some juice for you on Thursday. I don't believe in being precipitate. I don't like guessing. I like certainty. So putting that to one side, I notice that the BBC has been very resolute about cleaning up another one of its scandals. The actress Amanda Abington, who complained bitterly about the way she was taken advantage of by Javan Periche, who it turns out has been absolved of all of the major accusations that she made against him, and has been condemned for having sworn. I mean, who doesn't swear in the heat of the moment? I mean, honestly. And he said he was very pleased to be cleared of the threatening and abusive behaviour accusations made by Miss Abington. And she, of course, said she was vindicated because she got an apology out of him for having sworn at her. I mean, you know, I have to tell you, the constant complaints that people nowadays feel they are entitled to, they are such a bore, and they are so despicable in terms of people of character. Why can't everybody be a victor instead of a victim? Why can't people exult in their strength instead of exulting in their weakness? Then, of course, we have dear Harry having arrived on the scene and having made himself personable. And that's what my bongo drums are going to be beating about on Thursday, because I am having my, shall we say, friends look into things rather carefully to see what has really gone on, as opposed to what we are supposed to think has gone on. Because Harry is as good as Amanda Abington and his wife, Meghan Markle, in... I'm such a victim. I'm such a victim. But I expect to be worshipped at the same time. So let's plunge in with other stuff. Eliza H.R. Sky says, it seems like the Daily Mail's article on Archewell's FYE 2022 IRS 990 is a non-starter. It says nothing really. What is your view? I know you have a genius accountant checking it out. Thank you. I do have a genius accountant, and he has been checking things out for me, as some of you will know, including SSP, who says, Lady C, what do you make of the Mail on Sunday's story that Harry and Meghan's Archewell Foundation could be in big trouble with the US authorities because several $1 million is missing from it? Are they implying that Harry and Meghan are in danger of being investigated for misappropriation of their charities' funds? Good question. That's certainly a possible interpretation. Didn't you cover all of this earlier this year? I certainly did. I seem to remember that you did. I did. And the sums involved were twice what the Mail are alleging. Your comments, please. Yes, my accounting genius came up with the fact that, if I recall correctly, the 2022 accounts had interest of that indicated that it was only 222, or it might have been $220,000 that stayed in the account for the period between 2021 and 2022, and that several million had gone walkies. But is that misappropriation of funds? Or is it, which I think is far more likely, that they move money around? Because, and I made this point when we covered this some months ago, and it's really rather interesting that the Mail Johnny come lately has come to the table so late and so inadequately. But they're better than the Times of India. It took them 25 or 30 years to discover that what I had said in 1992 about Harry and William having Indian blood as a result of Diana being descended from an Anglo-Indian by the name of Eliza Keogh was actually accurate. I am constantly befuddled as to how inadequate the news is. But according to the Mail, more than 6 million has gone over the last 2 years. Well, it's more than 6 million. And according to them, the discovery has prompted speculation over what has happened to the Sussex's missing millions. It's not the Sussex's missing millions. It is the Archewell's missing millions. There's a difference between a company and an individual. I'm sure Jonathan Rothermere knows it. He owns the Mail. I'm sure Liz Hartley, who heads up the legal department, knows it. I certainly know it. It is understood, and I'm reading, Archewell believes its records that only declared $2,911 are correct. I think I'm taking a guess now, and I don't really like guessing, but I think a likely explanation is that Harry and Meghan themselves put in I don't remember what the sums were, I'm sorry, I'm really not good on math, but I think it was about 10 or 12 or 11 million, and then it was reduced. But that money was never sitting in Archewell's account earning interest, because I don't remember what the interest was the previous year, but it was negligible as well. So what they obviously do is they put in the money, make a big show. Harry and Meghan are very good at making a big show. Look at me, I'm a big shot. Maybe spelled with an I. Naughty me. But they're big shots. We have all this money. I think they had about 10 or 12 million that they've been playing around with. I said this some time ago. What is interesting is that the Mail, in between saying how wonderful Harry and Meghan are, have run with this story. So Maybe they're trying to induce Harry to settle rather more quickly than he's settling. Maybe they're pointing out to him in a very subtle way, Harry, you're not squeaky clean, and if you don't settle quickly and on terms that are reasonably acceptable to us, your reputation might suffer. And may I say, I'm going to tip a wink to Harry. Harry, don't believe a thing of it when they tell you. And you will be a friend of the Mail, and we will go out of our way to be nice about you. That's what they promised me 1990, whenever it was settled. 1995? Yes, 1995. It's all rubbish. It's all rubbish. They will have a go. And if they don't have a valid reason for having a go, they will make it up. So, I should say that for what it's worth. The voice of experience speaketh, dear Harry. Susan Smart says, good afternoon, Lady C, to you and your fur babies. Woof, woof. What do you think about the Channel 4 documentary titled Prince Harry's Wicked Stepmother? It sounds like it will be pro-Harry and against Queen Camilla. I really cannot understand why they will do this with all the problems the royal family are dealing with. Ha! They are an entertainment and a media company. They deal with entertainment and they deal with news. And to them, people of privilege, celebrities, royals, are not really human. We, and I lump myself in from personal experience, are dehumanized commodities to be played with and traded upon as it suits their purpose. That's the nature of the game. Harry has given the media a very good arrow to use against his stepmother, and inevitably someone was going to use it, and Channel 4 is using it. Now, I have to tell you, before I actually got this question, a certain princess phoned me up expressing concern over what she calls the Camilla bashing that she has observed is gaining traction in the media generally, and as she put it, not just with the crazy end of the media either. And she suggested that I address this issue because she said that the Camilla bashing stories lead her to conclude that there is a campaign to denigrate Camilla, or as she said, some of them are calling her Cowmilla. She claims that according to her, there has been an exhibition of the coronation gown, and that there have been reports, all untrue incidentally, that there was a nasty stench and a yellow stain on her coronation gown. Well, we know what that means. She says that there's also in the media all sorts of stuff about Camilla and Catherine falling out, and that they fell out. I mean, it's so ludicrous, you can't believe it. Of Camilla's desire to make her daughter a princess. Ridiculous. I mean, whatever next? Well, I suppose since Catherine was an AI figure, anything is possible nowadays. And may I say, free speech requires that we have to deal with loonies, but we don't have to believe them. She said that evidently the reports are that Camilla forced the Middletons to use the servants' entrance. I ask you, whatever else. And that Camilla has used Catherine's health problems to take possession of Queen Elizabeth II's jewellery that has been over 100 pieces of it have been earmarked for Princess Charlotte. She said that it's outrageous because they are accusing Camilla of effectively, and she used the word that begins with S, the jewellery, which is, according to her, serious defamation, and fabricating descriptions of Camilla from 40 years ago when she used to smoke. And they are fabrications, I know that, because 50 years ago, her brother and I were great friends. So 51 years ago is when we met. So some of that is really stupid. Well, there is a campaign, and the campaign has been fed by Californian quarters and Californian residents. And let's remember what Harry said about Camilla. The wicked stepmother, as he made sure that description was included in Spare Me from All the Guff, that was his book called, unfortunately, just Spare. Evidently, the documentary was made and it was going to be broadcast. Then they discovered that the king was ill. And so they have put it on hold. But evidently, it's now set to be broadcast within weeks. And according to somebody who is familiar with the contents, it's a very pro-Harry and very anti-Camilla. It presents him and Meghan as victims of the family's unkindness and of Camilla's orchestration. Let's remember one or two things that Harry said about Camilla, okay? Speaking to Anderson Cooper in January last year, he described Camilla as dangerous and a villain. He said she was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image. That made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press. And there was open willingness on both sides to trade information. And with a family built on hierarchy, and with her on the way to being queen consort, there was going to be people or bodies left in the street because of that, chief of whom was poor Harry the victim. Oh, Doria, I need some weed. I need some weed. Need to calm myself, chill, and, well, maybe I should go to the Portland hospital and get one of those canisters of gas, laughing gas, and maybe I should take a few tots of it, and maybe I can, while doing that, imagine that Meg's baby is popping out of my son. Of course, Harry is very clever to cover himself because he's dumb, but he's not so dumb as to not stick the knife in and make sure that any bleeding doesn't reach his precious little skin. Because within a matter of hours of that interview, he was telling Good Morning America that he didn't view Camilla as an evil stepmother. Then he also said, I have a huge, and look at him plunge the knife in the very Meghanian way. talk about two-faced and disingenuous. I have a huge amount of compassion for her, you know. Being the third person within my parents' marriage, she had a reputation or an image to rehabilitate. What conversations happened, whatever deals or trading was made right at the beginning, she was led to believe that that would be the best way of doing it. Then he said, to make sure that everybody understood that they're on the outs, we haven't spoken for a long time. I love every member of my family, as I plunged the knife in, despite the differences. So when I see her, we're perfectly pleasant to each other. In other words, they can't stand each other, but when they have to, they skin their teeth at each other. She's my stepmother. I don't look at her as an evil stepmother. I see someone who married into this institution and has done everything that she can to improve her own reputation and her own image for her own sake, because she's a selfish bitch and a conniving, and it begins with C and rhymes with hunt. And I am very adept at everything called a stunt. Well, wait until that's aired. Wait until that's aired. Dear, oh dear. You know, Harry and Meghan have been very astute, if that's the right word to use, in giving mixed messages to one set of people. Their marriage is terrible and they're about to get separated or divorced, and to other people, oh, we're so happy together. And I actually think it's a combination of the two. And I don't think with people like that, you need to exclude the contradictions, because people like that are often very contradictory. So anyway, let's continue with what Barbie Q says. Harry's boring blather never includes any facts, statistics, research, commentary by qualified professionals. He is highly unqualified to preach to anyone else, especially considering his past and present actions. He offensively exploits even photos of deceased children in his gauche campaign for censorship. He thinks trying to be emotive, persuasive, invoking Diana's memory equals a good speech, flapping his arms around, pretending to be purposeful, wandering around the stage, droning on in his monotone, pretending to be a statesman when he represents no state. Well, he does represent the state of being a very high. Then, incongruously for a statesman, he goes on a talk show, swears and blasphemes, giggles, imagining it makes him look like the inane cheapy-chappy image sold by the men in grey suits many years ago. He should be thankful that anyone believed it years ago. No one believes him now. But you see, I'll tell you how shows like the Jimmy Fallon show will work. Because I have appeared on many shows like that, and they pay you a very fat fee and then hope to get you to make a complete ass of yourself. I take the money. I don't believe in making an ass of myself. Harry, he takes the money. He doesn't believe in making an ass of himself. He just does it naturally. They will have encouraged him, and he is happy to sell himself down the river and along with his dignity and along with the respect that would be due to him if he behaved in a, shall we say, dignified manner, for filthy lucre. But he needs the filthy lucre. After all, Meghan's a very expensive piece of totty to maintain. She can never wear anything that costs less than however many $1,000. And no matter how expensive it is, her soul shows, because everything she wears ends up looking cheap as she is, in my opinion, as a human being. Pauline says, "Dear Lady C, I read an article in The Sun about Mohammed Al-Fayed and the late Princess Diana, and I was shocked, not only you, except I wasn't surprised. Paul Burrell, the former butler of the late Princess Diana, said that Mohammed Al-Fayed made an indecent proposal to her that left her sickened. He said, 'I want you to marry my son because in Egyptian tradition, the father goes first.' He then boasted, 'I'm going to sleep with you.' Why is Paul Burrell telling this? Did he run out of money? Good question. Very good question. I don't know why he doesn't sell a few of those artifacts that he had in his possession while he was safekeeping. Where are we now? He said, he should be quiet about his job as Princess Diana's butler. Well, my dear, why would he be quiet when he can make money and make himself into a celebrity? Why do you say? Because what sort of keeping confidences would be the correct thing to do? Yes, it would be, wouldn't it? But you'd have to have the right character to keep the confidences, wouldn't you? I think Burrell is such a disloyal servant, I can't tell you. I absolutely despise everything he stands for, and I have made it clear over the years. I despise anybody who is disloyal. But let me continue. He should be quiet about his job as Princess Diana's butler, should show some respect. Why all these stories about Mohammed Al-Fayed? It's called jumping on the bandwagon, and there's nobody around to refute or confirm, says I, interjecting. This must be very painful for his widow and his children. Oh, they don't count. They're just rich. Why would they count? I mean, there's money to be made. And everybody knows rich people don't have feelings when you are a poorer and a leech sucking the blood of rich people, because believe me, there is a tremendously envious class element to all of this. Anyway, let me continue. You are right, Lady C. Why telling these stories now? The man has passed away. Why nobody told anything about him when he was still alive? Lady C, what do you think of the revelations of Paul Burrell? Do you think it is done to draw the attention of Mohammed Al-Fayed instead of Meghan Markle and her pregnancy of Archie? I am not living in the UK and English is not my native language, so I apologize for any spelling mistakes. I learned English at school. Well, my dear, your English is very good, so thank you very much for that. I think Paul Burrell is disgraceful. I think I have said it in many ways, shapes, and forms, and I'm going to say it in another. I refuse to appear on shows with him. And once, when Piers Morgan begged me through his people to appear on the show, I agreed to do so as long as I didn't have to interact with him at all, and I would sit in front of him and he was behind me, so I wouldn't have to see him or speak to him. And they, of course, television being television, ribbed me to the extent that I think I had to say something like, "Oh, hello," or some such thing. And then we were, during the Queen's Jubilee year. No, it wasn't. Or was it? Anyway, either her Jubilee year or birthday. I forget which one. I was at Buckingham Palace, and so was he. And I was speaking to some other people, and he bounded right up and said, "Oh, hello, Lady Colin, blah, blah, blah." So I was surrounded by people, and I was in a good mood. So I said, "Oh, hello, Burrell." That was it. That's what happens when you have people whose egos and greed are bigger than their loyalty. More than that, I will not say. Totally disloyal. And how dare he actually make out that Diana would have allowed Mohammed Fayed or anybody else to insult her, and then she would continue to associate with him. And then, to add insult to injury, she would end up being entertained by him and nearly being his daughter-in-law. Do you see in this what I regard as highly embroidered opinion? Because I do not for 1 second believe that Burrell has any right to be speaking for Diana, whether, and especially because he was her butler, he shouldn't be speaking for Diana. And for him to make out that she was as big an arch hypocrite as he is, that she was prepared to use Mohammed Fayed for what she could get out of him while despising him, because that's the ordinary meaning of what he said, that she was as crass an opportunist as he is, Burrell is, and that she was going to jump on any bandwagon as long as it suited her, even though she despised the man. Well, I have to tell you, I know from Elsa Boca, Lady Boca, who was a woman of great integrity, that Diana, and she was incidentally half Lebanese and half Egyptian, but married to an English knight who had been an ambassador. And she was a great friend of Diana's. And Diana absolutely loved her. And she told me that one of the things Diana loved about Dodi was the whole Middle Eastern family setup, and that the warmth that they all covered her in. And also, Diana and Sarah York, I have to tell you, every fourth word out of their mouth was a swear word. One of Diana's favourite words began with C. So, if Burrell is trying to pretend that earthiness was something that was anathema to Diana. It certainly wasn't. And I'm not criticizing her, because I swear like a trooper, as anybody who's seen me on I'm a Celebrity will know, when it's appropriate. Everybody I know swears like a trooper in my generation and downwards when it suits us. Prince Philip did. Princess Anne does. I mean, Burrell has created a Diana that never existed, and I find it deeply offensive. So I hope that answers the question. Joan P. says, Lady C, what do you make of CBS leaking footage of Jane Pauley zeroing on Meghan over her supposed ideation? Are the chickens coming home to roost? Yes, they are. As simple as that. Meghan and Harry are going to find it very difficult for the world to unsee what they have so graphically given us sight of. And I said it at the time, Jane Pauley's interview was a masterpiece in very subtly conveying the reality of what Meghan is. The question you have to ask is, why now? Why now? Well, I tell you why now. The Hollywood Reporter, the Daily Beast, Us Weekly, talk about being idiotic and pouring fuel on the fire, and now CBS. And wait for it, there's all of Harry's wonderful stomping around for the Clinton Global Initiative, and don't think he didn't get paid for that either, because let me tell you something, people get paid for things like that, especially the Harrys and Meghans of this world. They're very Linda Evangelista. They don't get out of bed for less than several thousand per diem. Paulina Pitter says, Lady C, do you have any comment on Angela Levin reporting that Invictus Canada have told Meghan her presence is not wanted in 2025? Well, if I remember correctly, when they were in Canada, I said that my understanding is that they didn't want her. I recall I also said that in Germany there was a tremendous amount of resistance to her, and that the Canadians don't want her. So Angela has said it as well, and she's been told it. Angela has some very good sources. Angela has written a biography on Harry and one on Camilla. And Angela is actually a pretty good journalist. She has no reason to invent stuff, and I don't for a second think that she invented this. I think she got the information because they don't want her. Meghan is a pariah. I've been saying it for some time now. People don't want to be associated with her. After that performance in Germany, nobody wants it. And also, when she was in Canada, she took over the whole thing. I'm afraid my understanding is, as I've said repeatedly, the Invictus organizers want the stars of the show to be the stars of the show. The injured participants Nobody wants frowsy Meghan Markle pushing herself all around the place as if she's some fabulous creature that everybody should just be in awe of. And look how beautiful I am. I mean, look at my scrawny legs and my chicken feet, and just look at my fabulous skin. I mean, just so fabulous that I have to show it off, although it's really like cement splattered on and cement of a rather shall we say naughty colour splattered all over the pavement. Helen Burns says, watch them try to breach the royal family by pretending to separate. Helen Burns, I have read out your comment because there is in certain quarters the belief that this is what their technique is about, and that Harry isn't quite as miserable as he leads some people to believe, and that he is far more committed to Megsy baby despite all the ups and downs than he would like some people to believe, and that if the separation story works, wouldn't that be wonderful? Harry gets to be half in, half out, although it's never going to happen. But you can see the game plan, can't you? Oh, well, you know, H, today I'm being really nice to you, and, you know, maybe I'll even put on and enact that Stan Getz record, Blowing in the Wind. As long as you make up with your family and you get to be doing royal duties for half the year. No, I don't have to go. No, you go. Yeah, and then after we make that connection, I'll make lots of other connections. Now, H, remember, if you want me to play that record by Stan Getz, Blowing in the Wind, you've got to start to make some progress. You're not making enough progress. Crazy. Lena Carson says, Lady C, greetings from Australia. Greetings to you. I am surprised that the Qatar family is going down this particular avenue regarding the Harrods allegations. Many years ago, I don't remember which year, a newborn baby was found in the Qatari airport bathroom. To find out who possibly the mother could be, all women of childbearing years before boarding the plane were very invasively examined, including a number of Australian citizens. You can imagine the outcry. The Australian women, not sure about citizens from other countries, were trying to get compensation for such degrading treatment. No such compensation ever was given. So it baffles me that the compensation may be given to women who claim abuse a quarter of a century ago with little or no evidence. Keep up the amazing videos. That's a very interesting comment, Lena. Oh, it's Scarso. Sorry, I got the name wrong. It's all together. Sorry, Lena Scarso. There are substantial differences. First of all, what happened in Qatar happened on Qatari territory, and it is strictly against their religion as well as their law for what occurred to occur, and they had a right to implement their laws on their territory. If you don't like people's laws, don't go onto their territory. It's as simple as that. Of course, nobody would have been happy to be put in that position. But may I point out that it was hardly going to be terrifically invasive, because it was going to be very easy to tell upon the most cursory of inspections who the culprit could not be, as opposed to who it was. So I understand why they did what they did. They sought the culprit, and I understand why they gave no compensation, because they were investigating a crime, a serious crime. Abandonment of a newborn baby is a serious crime in certain cultures. Now, insofar as the 270, now let's wait until it's 27,000 women who have discovered that they were so traumatized because Mohammed Al-Fayed troubled them by making impertinent suggestions repeatedly, but they continued working for him. Let's see, as the list expands and the lawyers make more money and the BBC gets further deflection, and all of the newspapers get to pound their chests with righteous indignation. Because remember, the BBC is a media organisation, and it's a courtesy of one shark for another. So let's all swim around in the shark pool and eat sea lions instead of eating each other. And of course, the Qataris wanted to go away as quickly as possible. Also, they don't want to be accused of being the sort of state that disrespects the rights of women. And indeed, strict Muslims respect the rights of women. This is going to come as a surprise to some people. But Islam was a far more progressive religion when in its inception than either Judaism or Christianity. Because Islam, which came after Christianity and Judaism, protected the rights, or not only protected, it endowed women with rights that Christian societies and Jewish societies had never given women. So if you understand all of that, you will see why they're doing what they're doing. And they have very deep pockets. And the 50 or 100 or even 200 or even 300 million pounds that they're going to have to spend is a drop in the bucket as far as they're concerned, and therefore is well worth the expenditure. So I hope that answers the question. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what we should be addressing on your behalf. Okay? Thank you so much. Take good care. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and arrivederci.